What's up, everybody? It is Ebontis, and Season of the Wish is here, and we've got a new artifact. Depending on how much you've been able to unlock so far, you've probably seen a bit of a trend, but this season is 100% Season of the Solar. They joked that it was going to be, oh, look, Stasis and Strand. Solar all the way is the way you're probably going to have the most success, at least. First column, Barrier, is Sidearm. Now, if you don't want to do that, you're able to make yourself Radiant a lot, which makes pretty much everything you've got anti-barrier. The other options you're going to have, Wish Ender, Arbalists, Revision 0 is going to be barrier. It won't be overload even though it's a pulse. So keep those in mind if you're looking for something for barrier, but also you're able to make yourself Radiant, which makes a lot of things barrier. I don't love that as being dependable in like a slow lost sector or something. So yeah, some of the exotics are probably going to come into play, just a guess. If you get the Rocket Sidearm, maybe that'll be fun, but we'll have to test it later and see. Whether you go Unstop here, Overload here, just whatever you prefer to use. That's always just kind of up to you guys. Solar Strand is one mod. Solar Siphon, another mod. It looks like it would combine all three, but it does not, unfortunately. Would be nice, but probably a little too OP if it did. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched targets. So if you're Radiant, you're just applying Scorch everywhere. Again, you'll notice Fire and Solar is a big thing in this whole build. Use it all the time and a lot. So I'll just kind of go through as we go. Another one. So from Whence You Came, we have a lot of Taken. We have a lot of Scorn. Pretty much all over both the Coil and the dungeon and all the things we're probably going to be doing this season. So if you're doing any of those activities at all, it behooves you to put this on here. So I would, most likely. With the origin traits, I just never feel like this is really worth it. All additional weapons with these traits are always overcharged. So if you do get that overcharge, you know, if there are certain weapons with those and you want that 25% bonus, and maybe there is some weapon that gives you that benefit when weapons can be overcharged, you can just make them that 25%. That would be a situation where it's like, hey, nano tracer rockets on this thing, even though it's not Strand, it could be beneficial for me to use this here. That would be a reason to go ahead and do that kind of thing. But normally for me, origin trait perks, not going to be that beneficial. If you have a way in a certain activity to make it overcharged and that's going to help you, that could be a reason to swap it, but not really much more than that. So in this column, this one, when your super is fully charged, near fully charged, I should say, ability final blows spawn orbs of power. I'm not really going to be too keen on making sure ability final blows are making orbs of power for my build. Now, granted, Warlock snapping all the time, or if you got a throwing knife you're using all the time, making orbs of power, getting your super back, that might be okay. My issue with the Season of the Wish armor decreases super amount threshold, and same thing here, where it increases the chance. My problem with this is it's temporary. It doesn't give me a reason to hold on to the armor for this season. It gives me a reason to use the artifact in this for a little while, and then the armor is useless again, because all it does is give you a benefit for, you know, reputation for Riven. It doesn't give you a benefit that you can hold on to long term. So just a tip for Bungie, if you guys want to make me care about other sets of armor or looking to set bonuses, it's got to be intrinsically on the armor that gives me a benefit in some way. It's not a temporary thing in the artifact, but when the season is done, it still goes away, even if it is a long season. Up here, casting your solar super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. If you're running a raid, sure, you could probably have a buttload of fun with this one, but even on a dungeon, like a 3-man dungeon, Celestial Nighthawks, if you guys are going to be able to do that, stay alive and nuke a boss, you probably will be very, very effective. So with allies, and this is for allies, this is where you got to do this with people. So if you're running solo, not so much. If you're with a group and you guys are doing solo fantasticness, this could be amazing for DPS, so don't sleep on that. While Radiant deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Solar, or Strand and Stasis debuffs. Guess what's a Stasis debuff? Chill clip. One shot and they are slowed. Another shot, they're still slowed. Third shot, they're frozen. During any course of all of that, you are getting increased weapon damage. So if you're looking for a DPS strat, you can use this as a way to, you know, increase the damage that they take. Now, I don't think it's going to stack with Weaken. So depending on what your setup is, whatever it may be, it's going to be a little harder or easier depending on what your loadout is. But this can be a way for you to increase weapon damage to combatants that are affected by that. And you can have a friend do that and then have your weapons go nuts. Again, teamwork here can be a benefit. Rapid solar weapon precision hits which is not like a machine gun. I tried literally just an SMG on a small ad. It's got to be a lot of rapid hits. It's probably got to be like 10, 12, something that's going to be almost like what the sustained fire would be for a champion is what I'm guessing this is going to be. The one that annoys me here is this one, Rapid Solar Weapon Final Blows grant Radiant. Now, if you go Rapid Solar Weapon Final Blows for orbs, you can like kill one, turn over, kill another. It counts. You get the orb. And if you're killing them for orbs, you actually kill them slower. It's better because if you kill like 4 really quick, you get 1 orb. But if you go like 1, 2, take a break, 1, 2, you'll get 2 orbs. No, this seems to be like multi-kills or like 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to like mow them down pretty almost instantly fast to get Radiant from this. It's not a bad way to go. It's one I'm still using because things like Sunshot, things explode. What I'm working on in the dungeon, there's a lot of ads that you explode. It's not a bad thing, but it's just not as reliable, and it's somehow the same wording is not on the same timer as the Siphon. Now, I don't want them to break the Siphon because I enjoy how that works, but this one, I just kind of thought it would work the same, and just an FYI, it does not. So if you're running as a team, cool. If you're running as a solo player, I will probably run this one. Now, we do have a couple Strand and Solar. Picking up an orb grants Strand weapons unraveling rounds, so if you want to do that, you can. Damaging unraveling targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. So if you're running a Strand build, maybe the machine gun I just mentioned, but if you're running something Strand, you could have some fun with this for sure, but depending on if you're not running Strand, obviously these aren't going to do you any good. But not a bad combo here. If you do go Strand, obviously lean into these two. Getting an orb of power makes your Strand weapons do unraveling. Then unraveling, when you damage them, spawns a threadling every so often. There can be some cool benefits here if you start doing that stuff together, but just depends on what your build is. Stasis. Also, we have Stasis here. Defeating an encased combatant spawns Stasis crystals. Okay. Shattering encased targets and Stasis crystals deals increased damage. Shattering Stasis crystals releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. So again, if you're going Stasis, I feel like these are kind of a must. I saw Astacross do a video over Shatter Dive, kind of being a thing back, not really anything that's too bad to worry about breaking Crucible, but you can definitely have some fun with Stasis if you're running a Stasis build, depending on what, part of an activity you're on. Can definitely have some benefits. Don't sleep on these. These are where you want to definitely jump in and have a bit more fun that way. And again, if you're able to become Radiant, Rapid Solar Weapon Final Blows or something, like you're running Sunshot with a Stasis build, and then you get this all of a sudden, well, guess what? Any of these are going to pair well with this. So keep that in mind and what your weapons are, your loadouts. Pairing Solar with Stasis or Strand this season can have some cool, nice synergy going on. Now, causing damage with a Solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short time. So this is a weird thing. This, while Radiant, deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by those abilities. So this is technically a buff to you. This is a debuff to the enemy. But I can tell you, if I'm running Solar and I chunk a Solar grenade before I'm about to start a DPS phase, perfect. That's literally all you have to do. It's so easy. So if you use a grenade or I just chunk my hammer out there and weaken them for a little bit, fantastic. It's a great way to add additional DPS. Let Solar weaken something so you can do more damage. So Solar really does have a lot of the benefit this season, I'll be completely honest. Rocket launchers are especially effective against Overload champions. If you do run into Overload, that's not a bad way to go. It's really not. Just depends on if you're running something with Overload champions or not. One thing that I plan to use is Rapid Final Blows with rocket launchers, and grenade launchers grant armor charge. If you're running around with decent amount of heavy ammo, you got a lot of enemies, you're using something like Dragon's Breath, for example, you can have a lot of fun with that one. So that's just one I've actually been getting some use out of, so I'm going to put that one in there. And then breaking a combatant shield with a Strand or Stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze. So you can really get some decent suspend, freeze, Strand combinations going on in here. But to me, I'm just having a lot more fun with Solar, hence why I'm talking so much about it. So right now, I might do this one probably for a perk. Down here, honestly, this is just one like you may not think about, and I may not get much benefit from it, but maybe I get an extra orb. Who knows? It's kind of a toss-up in what you're using. Again, if I'm trying to debate on what I want to use, I probably would go with something closer to like this one, and then if I'm doing Overload champions, that one. It's a mix depending on what activity you're doing. It really is. Now, if I'm a solo player, solo operative, 100%. I think it's 15 or 10%. Somebody in the comments confirm. I feel like I saw a Reddit thing say 15% if you're not using it. I thought it was 10. If it's more than 10, then even better. But if you're doing something solo, free 10% damage by picking a perk all the time, you should have this on pretty much all the time. Now, if you're not solo, then running something like this is fantastic for your team. And then also, while Radiant, Solar Precision, Final Blows comes combatants to ignite. Everybody explodes. Cool. Depending on what you're doing damage with, firing a rocket launcher consumes 1 stack of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. Now, if you have, for example, Last Wish Rocket, Reconstruction, it can get 2. So what you would want to do is, in theory, shoot a rocket, get your buff using up 1 of your armor charges. Depending on if you get this kill, if you're firing into multiple, you might be able to get more. Then you have Reconstruction put 2 in the chamber, and it will grant you increased damage and reload speed. So you'll be able to fire 2 rockets quickly, and then it will reload quickly, and then you can kind of get it again, depending on how you play your ammo and rotations and stuff like that. That can actually be a really, really fun one. But either way, if you're just dumping a few rockets into a boss, and you've got some armor charge, by all means put that one on there. If you're running with a team, you've got a couple different options. If you're running solo, I will pretty much leave this on for most of the time. So it really depends on what activity you're running. Like, say, the final boss where I'm not using a rocket so much, solo operative for sure. But Argent Ordnance is like 25% for DPS phases, and if I'm surviving everything else, this is probably going to be a better option. If you're running with a team, casting a Solar Super with teams, going to be amazing if you go Celestial Nighthawk and blow everything up. So you've got a couple options in here. You can do some Strand and Solar stuff, but I will probably tell you that I think the Solar or Strand and Stasis stuff, Solar is going to be the more fun option, it seems, this season by far. So that's everything I got on the artifact. If you guys are new to the channel, you enjoyed the video, I've got plenty more coming for you. So hit that subscribe, hit the alert bell, helps the videos make it to you. If you want to find me on Twitch or Twitter, it's Ebontis. And if you guys want to help me, just support the channel, check out my solo dungeon guide. It's a complete walkthrough, every encounter explained, everything shown from a solo player's perspective, so you can see everything you have to do on every fight. If that one helps you guys through the dungeon, drop a like over there and enjoy that video as well. So have a good one, everybody. I'll see you soon, and good luck.